Reading through the Bible in a year, January 17th, Genesis 18, Matthew 17, Nehemiah 7, and Acts chapter 17. And Yahweh appeared to him, this is Abraham, by the oaks of Mamre, as he sat at the door of his tent in the heat of the day. He lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, 3 men were standing in front of him. When he saw them, he ran from the tent door to meet them, and bowed himself to the earth, and said, O Lord, if I have found favor in your sight, do not pass by your servant. What is this? Who is it who's met him? In Hebrew, the term O Lord unequivocally refers to God. God has come to meet him. Now we later read in it's in the New Testament. I don't remember where it is. I'm pretty sure it's one of the Pauline letters, where he says that no one has ever seen God. True. Not Yahweh, not God the Father, but we have seen Jesus the Christ. This most likely is what's called a Christophany, or it's an appearance of God an appearance of Christ before the incarnation. Remember, God exists outside of time. He exists in a space that we would call, by our limited minds, eternity. A place where time doesn't really exist. Remember, the entire universe, as we know it, was created by God for himself. Not for him to live in, but it was created by him for himself, for us to live in. If you follow Marvel movies or whatever, you might refer to it as a pocket dimension. It's something that was created for the singular purpose of creating the entirety of the human race, and for all of us to live within it. He could have created just a planet by itself, but he went to the extra effort to create our solar system, to create our galaxy, to create galaxies of galaxies. All of this shows the immeasurable power of God. But remember that God lives outside of time. The Trinity existed outside of time before anything was created, before even angels were created. So Jesus exists in this place that is outside of time. So if he so desires, he could pop himself into any point in history, even if he was poured into the human flesh that we know of as Jesus the Christ at his incarnation. He could still exist outside of that time as that same human being, using the same genetic code that crafted his human body at any point in our history. So this is what a lot of people say that we see now. There's a great guy named Doug Van Dorn who's written a book on this subject. I strongly suggest that you read it. It's about, the appearance of Christ in the Old Testament. That said, that's what a lot of people believe that we see here. Now, once again, as I mentioned before, in the ESV Study Bible, we get a couple different views of things. Let's go ahead and read the text here. So the term here, Adonai, or Adonai, is a distinctive one for God in the Old Testament. This is the O Lord. The polite term of respect, my Lord, Adoni, has a slight difference of spelling, affecting the last vowel. The ESV renders the Hebrew, while the footnote represents the different spelling. If the spelling in the Hebrew is correct, and there's no reason to doubt it, then Abraham recognizes that one of his visitors is a divine manifestation. This explains Abraham's part in the conversation that's about to come. So, on both sides of the aisle, we understand that this is Abraham meeting God in the flesh. Let's continue on. Verse 4. He's now continuing as he says this. Let a little water be brought, and wash your feet, and rest yourselves under the tree, while I bring a morsel of bread, that you may refresh yourselves. And after that you may pass on, since you have come to your servant. So they said, do what you said." And Abraham went quickly to the tent of Sarah and said, "Quick, 3 seahs of fine flour, knead it and make cakes." And Abraham ran to the herd and took a calf, tender and good, and gave it to the young man, who prepared it quickly. Then he took curds and milk, and the calf that he had prepared, and they set it before him. And as he stood by them under the tree while they ate, and they said to him, "Where is Sarah, your wife?" And he said, "She is in the tent." And note now it actually specifies and says Yahweh said, or the Lord said, "I will surely return to you about this time next year, and Sarah your wife will have a son." And Sarah was listening at the door of the tent behind him. Now Abraham and Sarah were old, as already mentioned, 190. At 190 years old, Abraham's 100 and his wife Sarah is 90 years old, advanced in years. The way of women had ceased to be with Sarah. So Sarah laughed to herself, saying, "After I am worn out, and my Lord is old, shall I have pleasure?" And the Lord said to Abraham, "Why did Sarah laugh and say, 'Shall I indeed bear a child now that I am old?' Is anything too hard for God, for the Lord? At the appointed time I will return to you about this time next year, and Sarah shall have a son." But Sarah denied it, saying, I did not laugh, for she was afraid. He said, "No, but you did laugh." Apparently they forgot what happened in the garden. God already knew these things. Then the men set out from there, and they looked down towards Sodom. And Abraham went with them to set them on their way. And the Lord said, "Shall I hide from Abraham what I am about to do, seeing that Abraham shall surely become a great and mighty nation, and all the nations of the earth shall be blessed by him? For I have chosen him, that he may command his children and his household after him to keep the way of the Lord by doing righteousness and justice, so that the Lord may bring to Abraham what he has promised him." Then the Lord said, "Because the outcry against Sodom and Gomorrah is great, and their sin is very grave, I will go down to see whether they have done altogether according to the outcry that has come to me, and if not, I will know." So the men turned from there and went towards Sodom, but Abraham still stood before the Lord. Then Abraham drew near and said, "Will you indeed swipe away the righteous with the wicked? Suppose there are 50 righteous within the city. Will you then sweep away the place and not spare it for the 50 righteous who are in it? Far be it from you to do such a thing, to put the righteous to death with the wicked, so that the righteous fare as the wicked. Far be that from you. Shall not the judge of all the earth do what is just?" And the Lord said, "If I find at Sodom 50 righteous in the city, I will spare the whole place for their sake." Abraham answered and said, "Behold, I have undertaken to speak to the Lord, I who am but dust and ashes. Suppose 5 of the 50 righteous are lacking. Will you destroy the whole city for a lack of 5? And he said, "I will not destroy it if I find 45 there." Again he spoke to him and said, "Suppose that 40 are found there." And he answered, "For the sake of the 40, I will not do it." Then he said, let not the Lord be angry, and I will speak. Suppose 30 are found there." He answered, "I will not do it if I find 30 there." He said, "Behold, I have undertaken to speak to the Lord. Suppose 20 are found there." And he answered, "For the sake of 20, I will not destroy it." Then he said, let not the Lord be angry, and I will speak again but this once. Suppose 10 are found there. And he answered, "For the sake of 10, I will not destroy it." And the Lord went his way when he had finished speaking to Abraham, and Abraham returned to his place. Remember, his nephew, Lot, is living there, and he knows this, and he assumes that Lot and his family are righteous. Surely there are at least 5 or 6 people, perhaps maybe a few more, and that will suffice for the 10 so that the city will not be utterly destroyed. Now Matthew 17. And after 6 days, Jesus took with him Peter and James and John his brother, and led them up a high mountain by themselves. What's this after? This is after Jesus says the words. This is when he's talking to them and he tells them to take up their cross and to follow Jesus. Jesus told his disciples, which remember is not just the apostles, but it's also all of the throng that are following him. If anyone would come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. For whoever would save his life, meaning your life on this planet or in this age, will lose it. But whoever loses his life for my sake will find it. For what will it profit a man if he gains the whole world and forfeits his soul? Or what shall a man give in return for his soul? For the Son of Man is going to come with his angels in the glory of his Father, and then he will repay each person according to what he has done. Truly, I say to you, there are some standing here who will not taste death until they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom. In every single reading of this text, get that line, and immediately afterward, the words of verse 1 here. And after 6 days, Jesus took with him Peter and James and John, his brother, and led them up a high mountain by themselves. And Jesus was transfigured before them, and his face shone like the sun, and his clothes became white as light. And behold, there appeared to them Moses and Elijah, Moses representing the law, and Elijah representing the prophets, talking with Jesus. And Peter said to Jesus, Lord, it is good that we are here. If you wish, I will make 3 tents or tabernacles here, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah. He was still speaking when, behold, a bright cloud overshadowed them, and a voice from the cloud said, This is my beloved Son, with whom I am well pleased. Listen to him. The disciples heard this. They fell on their faces and were terrified. But Jesus came and touched them, saying, Rise and have no fear. When they lifted up their eyes, they saw no one but Jesus only. And as they were coming down the mountain, Jesus commanded them, Tell no one the vision, until the Son of Man is raised from the dead. And the disciples asked him, Why then did the scribes say that Elijah first must come? And he answered, Elijah does come, and he will restore all things. But I tell you that Elijah has already come. And they did not recognize him, but did to him whatever they pleased. So also the Son of Man will certainly suffer at their hands. Then the disciples understood that he was speaking to them of John the Baptist. When they came to the crowd, this is coming down the mountain now, a man came up to him and kneeling before him said, Lord, have mercy on my son, for he has seizures and suffers terribly. For he often falls into the fire and often into the water, and I brought him to your disciples, and they could not heal him. And Jesus answered, O faithless and twisted generation, how long am I to be with you? How long am I to bear with you? Bring him here to me. And Jesus rebuked the demon, and it came out of him, and the boy was healed instantly. Then the disciples came to Jesus privately and said, Why could we not cast it out? And he said to them, Because of your little faith. For truly I say to you, if you have faith like a grain of mustard seed, you will say to this mountain, move from here to there, and it will move, and nothing will be impossible to you. This thing about moving the mountain was a common saying in the time for something that was utterly impossible. As they were gathering in Galilee, Jesus said to them, The Son of Man is about to be delivered into the hands of men. They will kill him, and he will be raised on the 3rd day. They were greatly distressed. When they came to Capernaum, the collectors of the 2 drachma tax went up to Peter and said, Does your teacher not pay the tax? And he said, Yes. When he came into the house, Jesus spoke with him first, saying, What do you think, Simon? From whom do the kings of the earth take toll or tax? From their sons or from others? When he said, From others, Jesus said to him, Then the sons are free. However, not to give offense to them, go to the sea and cast a hook, and take the first fish that comes up. You open its mouth, you will find a shekel. Take that and give it to them for me and for yourself. Wish I could pay taxes like that. And here we move on to Nehemiah chapter 7. Now, when the wall had been built, and I had set up the doors, and the gatekeepers, the singers, and the Levites had been appointed, I gave my brother Hanani and Hananiah, the governor of the castle, charge over Jerusalem. I'm going to restate that. The governor of the castle, charge over Jerusalem. For he was a more faithful and God-fearing man than many. And I said to them, let not the gates of Jerusalem be opened until the sun is hot. And while they are still standing guard, let them shut and bar the doors. Appoint guards from among the inhabitants of Jerusalem, some at their guard posts and some in front of their own homes. The city was wide and large, but the people within it were few, and no houses had been rebuilt. Then my God put it into my heart to assemble the nobles and the officials and the people to be enrolled by genealogy. And I found the book of the genealogy of those who came up at the first, and I found written in it, these are the people of the province who came up out of the captivity of those exiles whom Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, had carried into exile. And they returned to Jerusalem and Judah, each to his town. They came with Zerubbabel, Jeshua, Nehemiah, Azariah, Raamiah, Nahamani, Mordecai, Bilshan, Mispereth, Bigvai, Nahum, Baanah. The number of the men of the people of Israel, the sons of Parosh, 2,172. The sons of Shephatiah, there we go, 372. The sons of Ara, 652. The sons of Pahath Moab, namely the sons of Jeshua and Joab, 2,818. The sons of Elam, 1,254. The sons of Zatu, 845. The sons of Zakkai, 760. The sons of Binui, 648. The sons of Babai, 628. The sons of Azgad, 2,322. The sons of Adnikam, 667. The sons of Bigvai, 2,067. The sons of Adin, 655. The sons of Atir, namely of Hezekiah, 98. The sons of Hashum, 328. The sons of Bazai, 324. The sons of Harif, 112. The sons of Gibeon, 95. The men of Bethlehem and of Netophah, 188. The men of Anathoth, 128. The men of Beth Asmaveth, 42. The men of Kiriath Jearim, Chephirah, and Beeroth, 743. The men of Ramah and Geba, 621. The men of Michmas, 122. The men of Bethel and Ai, 123. The men of the other Nebo, 52. The sons of the other Elam, 1,254. The sons of Harim, 320. The sons of Jericho, 345. The sons of Lod, Hadid, and Ono, 721. The sons of Sanaa, 3,930. The priests, the sons of Jediah, namely of the house of Jeshua, 973. The sons of Immer, 1,052. The sons of Pashur, 1,247. The sons of Harim, 1,017. The Levites, the sons of Jeshua, namely of Kadmiel, of the sons of Hodavah, 74. The singers, the sons of Asaph, 148. The gatekeepers, the sons of Shallum, the sons of Atir, the sons of Talmon, the sons of Akub, the sons of Hatita, the sons of Shobai, 138. The temple servants, the sons of Ziha, the sons of Hashupha, the sons of Tabaoth, the sons of Keros, the sons of Sia, the sons of Padon, the sons of Lebana, the sons of Hagraba. Sorry. Too much time in Disney movies when I was a kid. The sons of Hagabah, not Agrabah, the sons of Hagabah, the sons of Shalmai, the sons of Hanan, the sons of Gedel, the sons of Gahar, the sons of Reah, the sons of Rezin, the sons of Nakoda, the sons of Gazam, the sons of Uzzah, the sons of Peseah, the sons of Basai, the sons of Meunim, the sons of Nefushim, that's a hard one, the sons of Bakbuk, the sons of Hakufa, the sons of Hahur, the sons of Bazlith, the sons of Mehida, the sons of Harsha, the sons of Barkos, the sons of Sisera, the sons of Tema, the sons of Neziah, the sons of Hatifa, the sons of Solomon's servants, the sons of Sotai, the sons of Sophereth, the sons of Perida, the sons of Jaalah, the sons of Darkon, the sons of Gedel, the sons of Shephatiah, the sons of Hatil, the sons of Pokreth Hazabaim, the sons of Ammon, the sons of... Nope, that was it for there. Verse 60. All the temple servants and the sons of Solomon's servants were 392. The following were those who came up from Tel Melah, Tel Harsha, Kerub, Adon, and Immer. But they could not prove their fathers' houses nor their descent, whether they belonged to Israel. The sons of Deliah, the sons of Tobiah, the sons of Nekoda, 642. Also, the priests, the sons of Hobiah, the sons of Hakoz, the sons of Barzillai, who had taken a wife of the daughters of Barzillai the Gileadite, and was called by their name. These sought their registration among those enrolled in the genealogies, but was not found there, so they were excluded from the priesthood as unclean. The governor told them that they were not to partake of the most holy food until a priest with Urim and Thummim should arise. The whole assembly was together 42,360, besides their male and female servants, of whom there were 7,337. And they had 245 singers, male and female. Their horses were 736, their mules 245, their camels 435, and their donkeys 6,720. Now, some of the heads of fathers' houses gave to the work. The governor gave to the treasury 1,000 derricks of gold, 50 basins, 30 priest garments, and 500 minas of silver. And some of the heads of fathers' houses gave into the treasury of the work 20,000 derricks of gold and 2,200 minas of silver. Restating that, 20,000 derricks of gold and 2,200 minas of silver. And what the rest of the people gave was 20,000 derricks of gold, and 2,000 minas of silver, and 67 priest garments. So the priests, the Levites, the gatekeepers, the singers, and some of the people, the temple servants, and all Israel lived in their towns. And when the 7th month had come, the people of Israel were in their towns. Including today in Acts 17. Toward the end of this book, or the end of this chapter, we get to this great spot where Paul gives this amazing discourse. And when we get to it, we'll go ahead and talk about it shortly before we get there. Just know that this is probably within my paper Bible. This is probably one of my most marked up sections in the entire thing. Let's continue now. Now, when they had passed through Amphipolis and Apollonia, words are hard today. One moment. You can do this. Now, when they had passed through Amphipolis and Apollonia, they came to Thessalonica, where there was a synagogue of the Jews. And Paul went in, as was his custom, and on 3 Sabbath days he reasoned with them from the Scriptures, explaining and proving that it was necessary for the Christ to suffer and to rise from the dead, saying, "This Jesus whom I proclaim to you is the Christ." Some of them were persuaded and joined Paul and Silas, as did a great many of the devout Greeks and not a few of the leading women. But the Jews were jealous, and taking some wicked men of the rabble, they formed a mob and set the city in an uproar and attacked the house of Jason, seeking to bring them out to the crowd. When they could not find them, they dragged Jason and some of the brothers before the city authorities, shouting, "These men who have turned the world upside down have come here also, and Jason has received them. And they are all acting against the decrees of Caesar, saying there is another king, Jesus." This is actually why Christians in this time were called atheists, because they did not believe that Caesar was God, or was a god. Again, they believed in a pantheon. It was weird. Verse 8. And the people and the city authorities were disturbed when they heard these things. When they had taken money as security from Jason and the rest, they let them go. The brothers immediately sent Paul and Silas away by night to Berea, And when they arrived, they went into the Jewish synagogue, again, as they normally do. Now, these Jews were more noble than those in Thessalonica. They received the word with all eagerness, examining the scriptures daily to see if these things were so. Many of them therefore believed, with not a few Greek women of high standing as well as men. When the Jews from Thessalonica learned that the word of God was proclaimed by Paul at Berea also, they came there too, agitating and stirring up the crowds. Then the brothers immediately sent Paul off on his way to the sea, but Silas and Timothy remained there. Those who conducted Paul brought him as far as Athens, and after receiving a command for Silas and Timothy to come to him as soon as possible, they departed. So this is where we begin this section. And the address really begins at verse 22, so we'll get there in a minute. But if you've ever read a systematic theology book, they all basically begin in the same place. Within systematic theology, basically what you're trying to do is you're trying to lay a defense for the God of Scripture. You can have any kind of systematic book if you want. You can have one on, you could systematize electronics, for instance, right? Or air conditioning systems. And you could have all of these other compendiums that kind of pull in all the information together into one great book that would have all the information in it. That's what a systematic theology attempts to do. It attempts to take all of Christian history and what we know about who God is from Scripture and how he's revealed himself to be, and to systematize it, to put it into an easy to consume format. And they almost all start in the same way. To start from all of these places, you have to first believe that there is a God. I mean, makes sense, right? And to get to the place where you believe that there's a God, you start from that presupposition, and then you build from there, and you describe who this God is. We're going to get to that as we go into it. But we get, in verses 16 through 21, this great window into what it is that Paul is seeing in this very religious, though godless, society. Let's begin, verse 16. Now, while Paul was waiting for them at Athens, his spirit was provoked within him when he saw that the city was full of idols. So he reasoned in the synagogue with the Jews and the devout persons, and in the marketplace every day with those who happened to be there. Some of the Epicurean and Stoic philosophers, these are people who see things on two very different sides of the aisle. Epicurean are those who believe that you need to go out and, take life by the fullest. They're the carpe diem people, right? And then on the other side, you have the Stoic philosophers. These are people who believe you need to eschew all of the comforts of society. I forget the guy's name. It was an extremely famous Stoic philosopher who actually lived entirely naked on the streets. And all of the food that he had was given to him. And he wouldn't take shelter or anything else. And in fact, he typically would refuse the food itself. And these are the two different ranges of kind of the theology at the time. That's why it's stated in this way. Saying these are the two completely different groups of people, those who encapsulate almost all of society, who are engaging with him. And some said, what does this babbler wish to say? Because he was speaking Hebrew or Aramaic, perhaps Greek, but he speaks many different languages. Others said he seems to be a preacher of foreign divinities because he was preaching Jesus and the resurrection. And they took him and brought him to the Areopagus, also known as Mars Hill, saying, may we know what this new teaching is that you are presenting. For you bring some strange things to our ears, and we wish to know, therefore, what these things mean. Now, the Athenians and the foreigners who live there would spend their time in nothing except telling or hearing something new. So Paul, standing in the midst of the Areopagus, said, men of Athens, I perceive that in every way you are very religious. For as I passed along and observed the objects of your worship, I found also an altar with this inscription, to the unknown God. They were afraid of missing one of these gods, so they set up an altar to this unknown God so that they, were sure to capture everybody. What you therefore worship as unknown, this I proclaim to you. This is where it begins. The God who made the world and everything in it, being Lord of heaven and earth, does not live in temples made by man. First off, he's the creator of all. As the creator of all, he owns all of it. He doesn't just create the hills or valleys or sea or specific types of animals or specific clouds or things like that, like these people were prone to worshiping. If you have an important business deal coming up, you would go and give a sacrifice to this god over here and to this idol, and then you would gain power for that important business meeting. Or if you were building a house, you might have a sacrifice that you would give to the god of, say, house building or whatever it happens to be. Or if you were going to go live in the valleys, perhaps you would give or travel through the valleys, perhaps you would give an offering to the idol or to the god of the valleys and the roadways to keep yourself safe. He is now proclaiming the God who created and owns everything. He owns the sky, he owns the stars, he owns the earth. He owns the water, he owns the air, he owns everything that is in the sky, in the water, and on and under the earth. He owns all of it. This is the God that they missed. It's the God who owns it all. They were thinking too small. And he's revealing to them the breadth of who this creator God is that they've missed. Then he next says, he does not live in temples made by man. Again, the entire landscape was dotted with temples to each of these other gods. Verse 25, nor is he served by human hands. He doesn't require things from us. That's the point being made, as though he needed anything, since he himself gives to all mankind life and breath and everything. If God is the one who has created the entire universe, if he owns every cattle on every hill on this entire rock, and if he so desires, he could spawn up planets throughout the entire universe that have cattle all over them. And guess what? He'd own all of those too. This God doesn't need us to feed him. He doesn't require of us certain sacrifices so that we can feed him things. Now, when we read through the account of the Exodus, we'll see that there, not only the Exodus, but also in Leviticus, we'll see that there are food offerings. But these are not food offerings in that we're giving it to God so he can eat, and if we choose not to do it, he'll starve to death. These are offerings of the things that he's already given to us, things that belong to him. He is sharing them with us, and we're cutting off some of it for him to give it back to him as thanks for taking care of us. That is a food offering. God does not require our existence for him to have power or being. He steers more into this in verse 26. And he made from one man every nation of mankind to live on the face of the earth, having determined allotted periods and the boundaries of their dwelling place, that they should seek God and perhaps feel their way toward him and find him. That he is not actually far from each one of us. Get to that moment here. So what do we learn about this God? He is the God who determines the boundaries and authority of nations. Again, they were thinking too small. They were missing the God who exists by worshiping the things that he has created. Continuing, Paul says here, yet he is not actually far from each one of us, for in him we live and move and have our being. And even as some of your own poets have said, for we are indeed his offspring. Being then God's offspring, we ought not to think that the divine being is like silver or gold or stone, an image formed by the art and imagination of man. The times of ignorance God has overlooked, but now he commands all people everywhere to repent, because he has fixed a day on which he will judge the world in righteousness by a man whom he has appointed. And of this he has given assurance to all by raising him from the dead. Now, when they heard of the resurrection of the dead, some mocked, but others said, We will hear you again about this. So Paul went out from their midst. But some men joined him and believed, among whom also were Dionysius the Areopagite, and a woman named Damaris, and others with him, or with them. Bringing up the rest of the notes here for you. There we go. Once again, I strongly recommend that you pause and read through all the notes on this section. They are utterly fantastic out of both the Reformation Study Bible and the ESV Study Bible. That said, that is all the reading for today. God willing, we'll be back tomorrow. Behold, the word of the Lord.